Because here, our Parsha, in Parashat Vayeishev, starts with the words Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv be'eretz Canaan, and then Eile toldot Yaakov, boom, Yosef. Are the generations of Yaakov only Yosef? Of course not. He has 12 children, 11 others, correct? So therefore, as we wrote here in questions 1 and 2, we're going to say that the translation of the word toldot are the events that brought about something very important, not only the generations, the lineages, but the events that brought about these matters. Which matters? Well, we're going to trace how Yaakov, his sons, his grandsons, in sum total will be how many persons? 70, because all of you know that will be recorded later. And those 70 eventually will be the ones that go down to Mitzrayim. Go down to Mitzrayim. Gentlemen, do you remember that we learned Hashem's decree to Avram Avinu? Yadoa Teida, surely shall you know, Ki ger yazaracha, that your zera, your seed, will be a stranger, be'eretz lo lahem, a land which is not theirs, vavadum, be in servitude, ve'inu otam, they'll be afflicted, and then they'll go out. History is foretold 400 plus years in advance by Hashem to Avram. What's the name of that Brit? Brit Bain? Habitarim. And that 4 generations later, they're going to come back and return to the land of Israel. In other words, on a national scheme, the nation, you're with me, the nation that will come out of Avram Avinu will not settle as a nation in the land of Israel until a much later period. Is that clear to us? A much later period. And l'chora, it seems that it's not related to matters of Israel whatsoever. It seems to be a divine decree. I want to share with you some wonderful ideas and a theme that I learned by my dear father-in-law, Rav Horowitz, Rav Shalom Horowitz Shalita, Mori Rabbi, one of my great teachers. Regarding this subject, we want to decide, how will this come into action? Will it be only a decree of God, or will it be a function of circumstances, events, freedom of choice that are chosen by people? How will it come? 2 contradictory midrashic understandings. The Midrash Tanchuma says, Amar Rabbi Yudin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to fulfill this gzeira, this decree of Yadoa Tida, surely shall you know. And he brought about events that Yaakov will love, especially Yosef. His brothers will not love Yosef. I'm purposely using the language, will not love Yosef. They will sell Yosef to the Yishmaelim, and they will bring him down to Mitzrayim. Yaakov will hear this, that Yosef is alive eventually where? In Mitzrayim, and he will go down with all his sons, and then the rest is history. We will be subjected. This is one understanding from this midrash, that the insight that we have here is if freedom of choice is as if taken away from Yosef, from his brothers in this section, and they're basically coerced out of their hands. Some of you that read the Haggadah on the Passover night, we read a lot about this event of going down to Mitzrayim, and then it says, quote, this is Chazal, Anus Alpi Hadibur. Anus, it's out of the control. It's all according to whose Dibur? Hashem. So according to this midrash, it seems that human circumstances are not involved in the fulfillment of this decree of going down to Mitzrayim and then forming later as a nation coming back to the land of Israel. However, this understanding comes in full contradiction with a Gemara that appears in Masechet Shabbat. Rav Chama Bar Guria says in the name of Rav, you hear me? Always never show favoritism amongst your children. Because of a garment that weighs 2 sla'im, that was the weight of the cloak, the woolen garment, what's called ketonet hapasim, given by Yaakov to Yosef. Because of what? Of that Yaakov gave to Yosef more than he gave to his brothers. The other sons. There was jealousy. And the matters evolved, and our ancestors went down to Mitzrayim. According to this Gemara, going down to Mitzrayim is a matter of
going down.
Human circumstances, not divine decision. The Gemara that we just brought is questioned by Tosfot, and Tosfot asks, wasn't the being subjected in Mitzrayim decreed already in the Brit Bin Abitarim that they're going to, like the words say, they're going to be in servitude, they're going to be afflicted? And Tosfot says, in other words, it's not a matter of human circumstance, it's all decreed. Of course, Mitzrayim is not mentioned in the decree where it all shall be. But Tosfot answers that had it not been for the jealousy of the brothers, being subjected, or the slavery would have been more easy, would have been more lenient. May I ask you, if we would not have this subject of Yosef and his brothers, could it be that Yosef and all his brothers remain in the land of Canaan, and this decree be fulfilled and only gain the land 400 years from now? Could it be that we live as strangers in the land of Canaan under the rule of others? Yes or no? Could that be the fulfillment of this decree? Absolutely. As we can understand from Tosfot, that to be in a land not ours means being in the galut in our land could mean, but ruled by others. So therefore, according to this last source, the going down in this parsha of Yosef, and thereafter the children of Israel to Mitzrayim, evolves and evolves because of human decisions. That Yaakov decided what to do. Yosef and the brothers decided how to intermingle. And it all came because of Bechira Chofshit, freedom of choice. So we have contradictory sources, one in the Talmud and one in the Midrash. Comes along the Abarbanel, and he says there are 2 parts to this decree. For those that don't know, Rav Yitzchak Don Abarbanel, one of the great Rishonim, medieval commentators on the Chumash, on the Tanakh, in Spain, a great scholar, a great treasure also for the leader of the Spanish country. He says the following: according to his understanding, we can say that the words Yadoa Teda, surely you shall not, that they're going to go down to a land not theirs, is regarding only the final result, that we will not be able to be authoritative in the land for these 400 years. There's no way to change that. It could mean that we're still here, but we will not be able to change that. We will not act as a nation sovereign over ourselves only after 400 years, as it's stated in the Brit, for 400 years. That's a decree. That cannot be changed. That is divine. That is absolute. It's not dependent upon human decisions. Part 1 of the decree. Part 2 of the decree, the Abarbanel says, all of the events that evolved, that brought about what we're learning here, were the decisions, were the thoughts of Yaakov and his sons, that they acted out of total free human choice. Had they wanted to, they could have mended or directed their activities, and maybe the fulfillment of this decree would have happened in which land? Even here, in the land of Canaan, without going down to where? Are you all aware that in the words of the decree to Avraham Avinu, Mitzrayim is not mentioned? They volunteered to put us into slavery. Do you understand that? Therefore, let us now go learn this event. You see the guy sitting next to you? See him? Do you remember what we said today in the beginning of the blessing of the luminaries about the angels blessing God? Kulam ahuvim, they're all loved. Kulam giborim, kulam kedoshim, they're all holy. Remember those terms we said this morning? Are each of the 12 sons of Yaakov Avinu, are they tzaddikim? Absolutely. There's not one Rasha there. Everyone are tzaddikim. How do we go about? So I want to share with you an understanding that my dear father-in-law shared with me in his book. Have you any knowledge regarding the laws of our courts? A matter can only be established in court if there is two or three witnesses. What about circumstantial evidence? I want to Mitzvat Lo Ta'aseh, number 290. Okay, I'm reading all this again, my dear father, Rabbi Horowitz. Capital punishment based on circumstantial evidence. You with me? Of course, he's writing from what he understands the conclusions of the Gemara. By this prohibition, we're forbidden to carry out a sentence in a capital case on the basis of strong presumption, even though it be nearly conclusive. Now listen to the following case. If a man pursues someone else with intent to kill him, and the pursued man takes refuge in a house, the door opens, he runs into the house, but he's followed by the pursuer. He opens, and he goes running after this guy inside the house. And we enter, you and I, witnesses. And after them, we find the pursued man at his last gasp. And his enemy, the one that pursued him, is standing over him with what in his hand? An axe, a knife in his hand. And both of them are bloodstained. Can we or can we not put the pursuer to death by capital law of the Torah? Yes? No? Why?
Didn't see it.
He didn't see it. The pursuer cannot be put to death by the court of Israel in the execution of justice, because what is lacking?
You didn't see the act.
Two witnesses to testify that they saw the murder being committed. And therefore the law of Hashem forbids putting the man to death in his words. As it says, the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. The Mechilta, halachic midrash on the book of Shemot, where this pasuk appears, suppose they see one pursuing his fellow man with intent to kill him, and they give him the legal warning saying, this man is a Jew, he's a son of the covenant, if you will kill him, you'll be killed. And then they lose sight of him. And later they find the man that was pursued at his last gasp, and blood dripping from the sword in the hand of the pursuer. I might think that what? That the pursuer should be declared guilty. Therefore the Torah says, the innocent and righteous slay you not. Why? Why would Hashem want such a law? Isn't it almost 99.9% obvious that he killed him? The Rambam says, do not let this puzzle you or think the law unjust. For among events which are within the bounds of possibility, some are very probable, and others highly improbable, and still others are in between the two. There's all different types of cases. The bounds of possibility are very wide. If then the Torah had permitted us to decide capital cases on the basis of a strong probability, which might seem absolutely convincing, as in the example that the Rambam gave, is very convincing, isn't it? And so on gradually, until you know what might happen? We should be giving judgment in capital cases and putting people to death on the basis of what? Presumptions. Unwarrantable presumptions, according to the judge's caprice. Hence, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shut the door, so to say, ordaining that no punishment is to be inflicted unless there are witnesses who testify that they saw what happened, without any doubt. If we do not give judgment, even on the basis of very strong presumption, the worst that can happen is that the sinner will be what? Acquitted. But if we punish on the strength of presumptions and suppositions, one day might come, we might put to death someone that is innocent. And it's better and more satisfactory to acquit 1,000 guilty persons than to put a single person, a single innocent man, to death once in a way. That's the Rambam on this mitzvah, v'naki, v'tzadik v'naki al taharog. Gentlemen, Rambam, we can assume, has perfect faith that what the Beit Din of Israel does here in our world, they are shlichim, messengers of Hashem. If whatever reason the Beit Din cannot take a decision to put to death because of what we called circumstantial evidence, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his ways. Yes or no? Does he have his ways to do whatever he wants to do to that person that could not be found guilty in this court case? Okay? So we have to understand that we have to do the true din according to the laws of God. And God has his own ways of taking care of persons that maybe are obligated and liable. Let's now learn about Yosef and his brothers. Okay? And we'll continue this with our next shiur.